So God came and He lived a perfect life in the form of Jesus, and He took all of our sin on Himself, and He died. And then He rose again to a new life. So that if we accept Him, and we surrender our lives to Him, then our relationship with Him can be made right. See, the problem with prayer a lot of times is that it's about us trying to get what we want. And what God's desire is for us to be surrendered to Him. Jason touched on this a little bit last week in the Lord's Prayer, where it says, Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. God's desire is not for us to get exactly what we want. His desire is for us to surrender ourselves to Him. His desire is for us to trust Him even when things don't make sense. When I was your age, a few years ago, there's no need to laugh at that. When I was your age a few years ago, I was convinced that for the most part, my dad's sole purpose in life was to make my life miserable. Do you guys ever feel that way about your parents? Their sole purpose in life is to make your life miserable. It seemed like the only word my dad knew was no. Hey Dad, can I go to this party? No. Hey Dad, can I go spend a weekend with my brother at college? No. Hey Dad, can I go with a group of guys to spring break with no parents? No. Hey Dad, can I take the car out? I know I'm only 13 years old, but can I take the car out and drive? No. It just seemed like everything I wanted to do, everything I thought would be fun, everything I thought would make my life more meaningful, my dad's response was no. I was convinced that his sole purpose in life was to make me miserable, was to suck all of the fun out of my life and to make me miserable in my existence. But you see, now I'm a little bit older now. Not a whole lot, but a little bit older. I've got some kids of my own. And I understand, I'm starting to understand a little bit that a lot of the things that Dad wouldn't let me do were pretty smart decisions on his part. Because I didn't understand the dangers involved. I didn't understand what could happen. It would be like if my son Ethan, who's sitting over here, if he came in and said, "Hey Dad, can I play with the shotgun?" And I said no, and he would think I was mean for saying no, you can't play with the shotgun. But the reality is would I not let him play with the shotgun because I don't care about him? No, I don't let him play with the shotgun because I do care about him. Because I don't want him to kill himself or his brothers or his sister or anybody else. Brothers, not brothers. I don't want him to hurt himself. As an older, wiser adult, I know what's best for him in that situation, right? I know what will keep him safe, what will help him grow, what will help him mature. It's the same reason why I don't let my kids eat Snickers for dinner every night of the week. Every once in a while, no. We feed them good food for the most part because we know that that's what's going to benefit them in the long run. And they may fight me, and they may gripe at me, and they may get mad at me about it. But ultimately, I do those things. Why? Because I don't care about them? Because I want to make them miserable? No, I do those things because I love them, and I care about them. And I want them to be healthy. I want them to grow up strong. I want them to grow up to be wise. I want them to grow up to be safe. God does the same things with us. And so many times, even as adults, we find, I look at my life and I think, I'm pretty smart. I can figure things out. But the reality is that compared to God, I'm not a very smart guy. And when we talk about prayer, we need to understand that being surrendered to God is the key to an effective prayer life. Understanding that God's not always going to give us what we want, what we think we need to be happy, what we think is best for our lives. But knowing that we can trust Him, knowing that He has our best interests at heart, knowing that He loves us so much that He left heaven. Jesus left heaven, this glorious place, and came to earth to be spit on, to be crucified, to be tortured, to die for us, knowing that that's the depth of His love. Our response should be to surrender our lives and say, God, because You've showed me how much You love me, because I can see how much the depth, how deep Your love for me is, so deep that really I can't even understand how deep it is, because You've shown Your love to me in that way, I am going to trust You with every area of my life. I am going to trust You that when You don't do what I want You to do, that You still know what's best. That You are still in control. The truth is that prayer really doesn't have a whole lot to do with the words that we say. Prayer's just talking to God about what matters in our life. It's about talking to God about thanking Him for who He is and what He's done for us, and talking to Him about what matters in our lives. But it's also about surrendering ourselves to Him. To saying, God, You are in control of my life. I give You full control, and if You do things that I don't understand, I'm still going to trust You. If You play things out in a way that doesn't make sense to me or isn't what I wanted, I'm still going to trust You. That's what leads to an effective prayer life. That's what leads to effective prayer. And there may be some of you guys here today that aren't surrendered to Jesus. You know, maybe you've been playing the God game, and you use God as kind of your master puppet to get what you want. And maybe it's time for you to reverse roles there and say, God, I'm willing to surrender my life to You. I want to live for You. I want to do things the way You want to do. I don't want to just use You as a way to get what I want, but I want to be able to trust You and know that what You want is something more important. When we do that, it creates a right relationship with God. And when we have a right relationship with Him, we can communicate a lot more freely. We can be open and honest with Him, and we can communicate as a child to His Father. And that's what God desires from us. Pray with me. Father, I realize that when I run my life the way I want to, I tend to screw things up. And things tend to get pretty messy. But I also realize, Father, that when I turn control over to You, that You don't always do things the way that I want You to do them. And because I like to be in control, that sometimes hurts. Father, my prayer this morning is that You would help each one of us to trust You, to surrender our lives to You. And Father, if there are those here today who need to surrender to You, I pray that You'd give them the courage to grab Jason or Mike or one of the other adults in here, and that You'd give them the courage to say, hey, you know what, I've not been living my life surrendered, but I want to surrender to Jesus today. Father, I thank You so much for the love that You've shown us. I thank You so much for the depth of that love that You come down from heaven to die for us.